then I want to tackle a great mess of doctrine. So there's a great mess of doctrine that's out there, just 11, just been circulating of old. An Apostle Harlot, right? Now check this out.
Second Corinthians chapter 6.
So we're addressing right now prostitution. Can we deal with prostitutes in these days, in the last days, or now, or in the kingdom, or was it righteous during the time of the apostles? And can we deal with prostitutes? That's the question on the table, and they're going to provide an answer. They're going to let the Most High speak.
And 16. And what agreement had the temple of the Most High with idols? For ye are the temple of the living power, as the Most High have said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith the Lord, and touch not
it's only 2 minutes,
thing, and I will receive you. There was another one.
It's about 2 minutes.
First Corinthians 6. Just bear with me 1 second. 16, 1 Corinthians 6:16. What? Know ye not that he which is joined to an harlot is one body? Meaning joined to a harlot, what? Meaning partaking in these rituals of these.
So we're going to go to 1 Corinthians 6:16 and break it down the right way, right?
Nations that would join you to their idols in so-called spiritual matrimony, spiritual marriage. What joins us spiritually to the Most High in matrimony, holy matrimony? By keeping His laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability, doing the things that the Lord, requires of us. He which is joined to an harlot is one body, for two, saith He, shall be one flesh. So this is not speaking about an actual harlot. This is
so they're going to 1 Corinthians, the first chapter, the sixth chapter rather. And saying that chapter is not dealing with actual harlots because they believe that you can lay down with a prostitute.
He shall be one flesh. So this is not speaking about an actual harlot.
He said that's not talking about an actual harlot.
This is speaking about doing the rituals of these nations, just like we read in Numbers 25.
So of 1 Corinthians 6 isn't talking about actual harlots. Okay, I'm going to play 5 seconds of this one. This is a word on prostitution. Listen to this. I'm going to play this.
All about they're all, that's why I named the video the bother of the Tampa Israelites. That's a bother for them. Yeah, a brother can deal with a prostitute, brother. Yeah. Okay?
You heard that? Hold on.
I was saying, if we go to 1 Corinthians 6:15, it gives you the context of what's being talked about, right? It's talking about us being part of the members of Yahushua, right? If we're being part of the members of Yahushua, how much more shall we be holy, like it's talked about in 1 Corinthians 5 and verse 23, I believe. We're supposed to be holy, right? Not subject to the things of this world. Right, 1 Corinthians 6:15, it says, know ye not that your bodies are the members of Hamashiach? Shall I then take the members of Hamashiach and make them the members of a harlot? God forbid. Meaning, in a small complex of what's going on, us individually are the bodies of Yahushua. But as a whole, as Yahushua being the Godhead of everything, right, through the power of Yahweh, how can we join a harlot unto the body of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua? That makes no sense, right? It's not talking about rituals. It's talking about joining things that are contrary to the works of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua unto the body of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Right?
And real, go ahead, King.
Go on, no, you got it, King. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's why it's very important to keep things in its proper context.
Book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 23.
Bring it out.
A man's pride shall bring him low.
Bring it out.
A man's pride shall bring him low.
Bring it out.
A man's pride shall bring him low.
Y'all single, y'all can have some too.
Yeah, y'all single, right?
Yeah. Y'all single?
Y'all single?
Let's get it.
Bring it out.
A man's pride shall bring him low.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rachaha Quadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of Great Millstone, the elder bishops. Also a sincere shalom to you brethren, you fellow followers of this truth. Shalom to the hopefully elect, shalom to the elect. So I want to go in this video with this guy, these Israelites, Wi-Fi Israelites. They got multitudes of names. They're theatrical. They got all the hype. They're precept pullers, right? So I want to go into that a little bit. He says that, you know, we got to go into the context, which means in the documents. And that's what we'll do. And we're going to prove that in this video, well, Apostle Aramlab and Apostle Kabar and Apostle Tahar, all the apostles and bishops and elders and brethren all the way down have already proved this, but we're going to go a little bit into it a little more for re-edification, and that the hopes of the ones that's on the fence to the hopeful elect, that they'll receive it. Now we have to understand, just because you see a particular word, that doesn't mean what it is. Just as they look at Gentiles, is Gentiles always a heathen, or can Gentile mean something else? Which Gentile does mean heathen, but can it be an Israelite or can it be a non-Israelite? Just like stranger. But they'll fight tooth and nails on that. That's why we destroyed them on the last doctrine about Apostle Paul going mad, right? Supposedly going mad with Festus, what he said. And that was strictly dealing with him speaking of the body of Yahushua being resurrected. And he said, well, you know, you're going mad. But these guys don't read. You know, that's the problem. They don't look up words and they don't read. But we will today, as as we all do, you know, at Great Millstone. And that's what I was taught. Through these great men that taught me to do the truth. Their teachers, top elders of their congregation should have taught them to look up words and read, but they don't. But anyway, let's go to the scripture in question. I believe it's 1 Corinthians 6. And let's go to 15. It says, do you not know that your bodies are members of Yahushua? Shall I then take the members of Yahushua and unite them with a prostitute? Never. Okay? Now, you know, just as Yahushua spoke in parables, right? It says, or don't you know that who unites himself with a prostitute is one with her in body, right? So now to understand what's going on, right? It says here, for it is said, the two will become one flesh. So now you got to go into the history. A lot of things Paul was saying, he was quoting, and he knew the history, okay? We'll get into that in a second too. In fact, let's go to Joshua 6 and 25. No, not Joshua 6 and 25. We'll get that soon. Numbers 25 and 6. And it says, and behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman in the sight of Moses, right? And in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel. Yes, you had Israelites like Moses, who had had his wife. So, hey, what was that all about? Zipporah, I believe, goes on to say, who were weeping before the door of the tabernacles of the congregation. And when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, which Phinehas means the mouth of brass, which actually means Negro or Nubian Egyptian, which proves that it was also called black. It says the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it. He rose up from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand, and he went after the man of Israel into the tent and thrust both of them through the man of Israel. So you're going to have to bear with me going through this so we can understand why did this happen, okay? And the woman through her belly, so the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. Now you have Israelites who teach, well, wait a minute, that's because you're not supposed to mess with a heathen woman. Right. We've seen accounts of men that mess with heathen women. Now, the plague in Israel, we're going to go into that. And those that died in the plague were 20 and 4,000. And it didn't necessarily have to do with a woman in general, or even a heathen woman, right? This plague was the following of different gods and different beliefs. And women, these heathen women, would do that. After all, our women have caused us to err, okay? Now, this group, this Adam Abbott, or I don't know their names, they had a lot of adultery from his teachers, and back in the day in the schools. I'm not going to go into that, but that was whoring around, right? Nobody has nothing to say about that. What's up with your woman today? A lot of those women in there, y'all see them and then they with the next man and the next man. Yeah, what's up with that whoring around? But anyway, we're going to go into a little reading and we'll get a more little understanding on what this is talking about. And then we'll probably go into Leviticus to bring this all home. Now, to understand what was going on, you have to go to 1 Corinthians 6. Up further. It says, be not deceived, nor fornicators, nor idolaters. Fornicators, to join themselves, into this madness. This is what was going on in the time of Phinehas in the wilderness, right? Anyway, it says, for the heathens were encouraged. Now, let me go back. It says, neither fornicators, idolaters. Idolatry here is placed between fornication and adultery, because these things generally accompanied it. Indeed, now you have to know what was going on in the church. That's why I did the video on the bishop must be blameless. Had the bishop of one wife. Why did it say one wife? Because those wives in that church in that time, they was following heathenistic practices, and they was marrying 10 husbands. That's why he said the husband of one wife. Right? That's exactly why I said the husband of one wife, because in order to be blameless, you couldn't marry a woman that had 10 goddamn husbands. So you had all kind of idolatry and whoredom and everything going on. That men was marrying and passing around women. They was doing all kind of idolatry. And then our people succumbed to the queen of heaven, Baal and various other practices of different gods. Right? So it goes on to say, because those things generally accompany it. Indeed, among the heathen, idolatry was not only a great crime in itself, but was the parent of many other crimes. So when you go into being playing yourself to being a prostitute and a whore, that was going into the practices of heathenistic customs, right? And in some cases, there was men who would marry into these prostitutes, right, and follow their gods. There was nothing wrong with having them. Men had concubines, men had wives. The bishop must be blameless and have one wife, right? You guys ain't going to go for that, though, are you? You into multiple wives, but you won't look that up, will you? You accept having a whole bunch of wives, though. At least I think. but that bishop, you would have a bishop would have 5 wives. When you read up on it, and to be blameless and have one wife technically meant in the Greek customs, if the wife died, they wasn't supposed to marry again. That's why they said the husband of one wife. But anyway, let's go on. It says, many other crimes for the heathens were encouraged in the commission of fornication, adultery, sodomy. So you had those women that was, and men, they was all indulged in that behavior, whether it was a so-called prostitute, no matter what it was, and they would go get carried away into those practices. So it really represented. That's why they said it was the parent, those idols and those worshipers, the worships of other practices was the parent of all the stuff that came with it. Wasn't nothing wrong with a prostitute. It wasn't nothing wrong with a woman, but it wasn't nothing wrong with another wife. You just had to have yourself in order. But this was out of order. It was a lot of out of order things going on. Right? And really, if you in the church, you shouldn't have female women prostitutes coming in the church anyway. Right? It said, let your woman keep solids at home. It says, for the heathen were encouraged in the commission of fornications, adultery, sodomy, drunkenness, theft, etc. By the example of their gods, right? Who live an easy, idolent way, taking up no cross, enduring no hardship, but how that was good-natured, harmless people are ranked with idolaters and sodomites, those infamous degraders of human nature. So they was easygoing people, but still linked themselves, and like today, they say, well, it don't matter to me. I go to work, I do what I need to do. I ain't gonna, that's why he said, don't love your life. Goes on to say, that's pretty much it. So let's go to Leviticus 19:29. It says, do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom, right? Lest the land fall to whoredom, and that's when it happens. And the land full of wickedness. Okay? So you had different classes of people, right? So you wouldn't, you would have a daughter, who'd be set to get married or whatever. But you have to understand that there was always prostitutes. Now you look at the story, and I'll get back to this real quick. Look at the story of, let's go to Joshua 6:25. And Joshua saved Rahab, the harlot, alive. So that harlot, if she was such a sinful heathen, right? Why did he save her? Why did he save her and her house? Because harlots always played the role. Harlots just always played a role. The Most High created everything. And there was certain instances where harlots, did certain things. I'm not going to go into that. They might flag it. But, they played parts in certain things. Okay, so we're going to go back here. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore. So what does that mean? Let's go into the context. Let's go into the context of what that's actually saying. Because a lot of you guys, you will not go strictly into the context of what is actually being said. Let's read this link. Going with this. It says, Leviticus 19:29, it says, as the Gentiles frequently did for the honor of some of their idols, to whom women were consecrated and publicly prostituted. It also says, this is a paramotory prohibition. Let me see what that means real quick. I'll look that up. So we can get the true understanding of what that's talking about. Now, of course, we're not prostituting our daughters, okay? It says, just to give you an idea of every time you see a word, it doesn't mean it's sexually related. That's the whole point. It says putting an end to a precluding or right of action, a debate or delay. Okay, so that's what that means. It says applying to every Jewish maiden introduced in this place with a primary relationship to sanctification of lust by the dedication of young girls at some heathen temples, but by no means confined in its application of such practices. All legal sanctions of sin of prostitution is forbidden for whatsoever purpose it may be given, and the certain result of such sanction indicated the final words of the verse. That's pretty much it. Lest the land fall of whoredom. It says, let me see what else it says here. Okay, we have another one here. It says, do not prostitute thy daughter. What does this mean to be a whore? It says, not by delaying to marry her, which is in a sense the Jews give out, but it refers to wicked practices among the Phoenicians and the Canaanites and Athanasius. It says Athanasius. Athanasius speaks of whose women used to prostitute themselves in a temple of their idols, and to such filthy services in a religious way. The Israelites, in imitation of them, are forbid to expose their daughters to such filthy practices. This goes back to Phineas. This goes back to exactly what Apostle Aramla was saying, not to be going to whoredom. The primary part, let me say the main objective, the main part was prostituting yourself, which means the selling of yourself to other idols, to other worships, to practicing other beliefs, which does fall under other things, having lewd sex and sodomy and all other kinds of things. It all falls under it. And this was what was going on in 1 Corinthians, the 6th chapter, with the lewdness and all that. And then, all the other things kind of come with it. This had nothing to do with a separate institution or a certain situation with a particular prostitute that a man laid with. That's not what that was talking about. That was sincerely talking about joining yourselves under other idols and other practices, what did come under lewd acts with that. Kind of like Hollywood, right? It says, under the notion of religion and committed at the Babylon, Corinth, and other places. It says, see Malachi 1:7, right? So I don't know why these guys are not going into the context. 1:7 says, and all the graven images therefore shall be beaten to pieces, and all the hires thereof shall be burned with the fire, and all the idols therefore will I lay desolate, for she gathereth it of the hire of an harlot, and they shall return to hire of an harlot. You see, you have to go into the context to understand what it's actually talking about. Anyway, that's all I have on that. Shalom.